gals, welcome to something a little different. This is our final portrait, Jove painting, but that doesn't mean Jove painting is going away. We'll still be using that old Bob Ross setup, but this here is a clue to something new we will be doing with Jove painting, a new series. I'm very excited about it. It's going to be awesome. We're jumping down to these smaller canvases in the hopes that we're going to make these shorter but sweeter for you guys, and really focus on the characters and really getting a painting complete. These smaller canvases I can just sprint through and then really focus on the details, and then hopefully in about 15-20 minutes we'll have a complete awesome little portrait for you guys. And so today the guy who stepped up to the plate for us to do this final portrait in this first series, or this first season rather, is Spyro the Dragon. I used to play Spyro all the time. I love that game. If I could fit Sparks, his little dragonfly, on this canvas, I would, but we're just going to focus on Spyro. So for this setup, we're using, this is just like a little $80 drawing table I had when I was younger. It's awesome, great for, whether you're painting, drawing, pen and ink, pencil, watercolor, whatever you want. It's just a great surface. It's adjustable. I put it at this like 40-45 degree angle. I tape my canvas down, and I'm good to go. Let's see. I went out and I got these little palettes at Michael's. This one's about $2. This one's about $5. This one holds 6 colors. I think this one's 24 colors. Maybe 12. I don't know. But great surfaces for mixing paint and just holding your paint and just for quick painting. And other than that, we're using the same brushes, same odorless paint thinner, same bucket. Same paints. I'm using the Devalu paints. I got those on Amazon for $23. I think it's a set of 24 colors. And we're pulling right from that palette. We're not really using base colors at this point. We're just going to pull from that palette and go with what we have, and we'll mix on the fly as we need it. So what I'm using is raw umber. This is a violet purple for Spyro. This is a cadmium or mid yellow, a yellow ochre for his horns. We have a titanium white and a Mars or ivory black for highlights and shadows. And we're going to jump right in. Let's do it. So I'm going to start with, let's do some purple. We're going to block him in. And I have a cool idea for the way I paint him, and then also his background. It's going to be this cool juxtaposition, and you'll see it as I build it out, and I'll explain it as I go. And I also printed out a reference image of Spyro. He's chilling up here, so I'll probably be looking up here every now and again just to see where his highlights and his shadows are. And his colors, I'm going to make the executive decisions on that in that regard. All right, so purple's hitting the canvas. Let's see, how does this go? There we go. All right. Yeah, see, these are fun. And this way, you can invest fewer resources and materials in these paint studies. Nothing wrong with that. So I'm just blocking out the bulk of his face. These eyebrows, all these other peaks and valleys of his face are purple as well, but I just want to define for you the parts that sort of base of his face, the foundation. All right, so we're coming around. You can see like that eyebrow starting to be defined. What I did was I just took this canvas and took a mechanical pencil and just sketched them out. I put the reference up, sketched them out. It was a good drawing exercise. And again, these are very similar, actually the exact same as those guidelines I did on the other paintings with the paint. However, this will be a little easier as far as covering up and not worrying about those colors of paint influencing the actual colors I want to put down in this painting. All right. I like this setup, this table setup, because I can anchor my arm and my hand on this table and really get some steady brush strokes going. When you're hovered in the air like that other setup we have that we've been using, it's a bit harder to hit the mark. That's where you want to practice at. You don't want to run away from that. It's definitely helped, but it is great to have these surfaces. This drawing, he looks a bit manic, but his eyes, he just has black eyes with white pupils, and once we get that in there, he'll look a little less crazy, hopefully. We'll see. So we're still just blocking this purple in. And as I do this, I'm planning out, I'm sort of trying to figure out how I want to go about doing highlights and shadows and constructing the rest of it. Let's see, alright. So that purple, this shade of purple creeps up onto his snout. I'm going to go ahead and just, now that I've spent time thinking about it, I'm going to go ahead and fill in this whole snout. Oops. Alright. We've got our purple in on that face. I'm using a mid-yellow, that cadmium yellow, just straight on here. This will be our platform for our highlights and our shadows. I'm going to bring some of that yellow ochre in here because he has grooves in his horns. That'll be it'll be a value shift towards more dark yellow, but it'll also give it some complexity with a little bit of that kind of mustardy brown. Rather than just white yellow or black yellow, we're going to get some brown yellow in there for some depth. So I just kind of outline first. I kind of form those edges, kind of sculpt those out with my paint, and then I fill in. And continue to refine as I examine the paint that I've put on the canvas. Yeah, see, I have so much more control now that I can anchor my arm on this tabletop. I can move quicker and more confidently. I can get finer brush strokes with these thicker brushes. I can really just kind of pirouette on that one little hair that's at the very tip of the brush and get those fine strokes. I'm going to look into pencils for drawing on canvas that don't bleed like this, because that graphite's really just kind of soaking up into the paint. But that's okay. It's kind of, luckily it's going in the color or the value direction we want it to go. So it's working out for us. In the future I want a little more control over that for sure. Alright, last but not least, his little fin here. Alright, there we have it, Spyro the Dragon. No, I'm just kidding. There's more. There's more to be done. See that graphite? Just kind of, at least it just bleeds right back into the yellow. But alright, I'm going to clean this little guy off. I'm going to revisit that purple and white I mixed. It's not anything dramatic by any means, but I just want to start incorporating some white in the purple and just see how it takes, see how it influences that darker purple. Rather than going in with straight white, we're just going to step our way in. For some reason he's got pretty heavy shadow over here. Just going to walk some black in. Again, remember, add a little black at a time, or any dark lights, or a lighter paint, little by little. Let's see, alright, I'm going to clean this guy out. And I'm just jumping between the titanium white and the ivory black. Kind of dropping in some shadows and highlights as I see them. Make sure your brush is clean and dry. Got a nice new rag over there. Let's see. So Spyro has this highlight straight across his nose here. And then he's got a bit of a shadow on the very tip of his snout. That's what really kind of brings it out. And even with these shadows and highlights, I'm still pretty much blocking it out. I'm just testing the waters, which is kind of dangerous with the black paint, just because it eats everything. But I see it up there, and I'm just translating it and bringing it down to my painting. I'm going to go ahead and grab just some pure white and start filling these eyes in. And they aren't strictly pure white. There is some kind of purplish red glow going on in these guys. this white now will just help me commit the shape, the form of the eyeball against this edge here of the purple. When I get up to these edges, rather than just doing a line here, when I want to get like a nice smooth edge, I kind of push and then I twirl it. And you can see I just kind of go with the edge of my brush around. Especially on round areas, that's what I do. Alright, got those eyes filled in. And again, I'm going to revisit those, really work on the that gray there, make sure it's white if I can. Alright, so now he's got a pretty prominent highlight up here on this brow. Kind of comes around his eye. Just kind of walk it up to meet that highlight and let those mingle. You don't want that too dark because that's sitting on his eye, which is all black, so still should be enough contrast there to tell what's going on, but just keep that in mind. When I do this, it kind of creates like a nice little blur effect, a nice little, so you don't have those brush strokes dominating your painting. They're kind of an eyesore if they're unintentional. But this really just sort of lets all the values and the hues mingle, interact, and you can push them one way, pull them another, and create some healthy contrast to form your image. Yeah, it's pretty dark down here. Unfortunately, this reference I have, pretty much any reference to Spyro 1, Spyro that I'm used to and accustomed to, not very, there's not a lot of information going on. So you kind of have to make it up a little bit. But that's okay. It's the fun part. That's good. It's a good challenge. I love how Spyro 1 progressed. It just got more and more whimsical every level. I mean, that's how games are, but it was such a feast. It allows those shadows to talk to us more clearly, giving us a nice pale purple. And he's got like rungs on his horn. There's like little rings all the way up. It's a good opportunity just to sort of stake out that territory. Yeah, look at him. See him coming to life over there? My real goal is just getting a nice solid presence of the yellow ochre down here on this edge. Not so much worried about the rungs yet. I'm going to go back to our yellow ochre. Same process. We're just going to climb up the edges here. Luckily that ochre really stakes its claim to some territory. And we're not going to worry about the rungs just yet. We're just going to, this is an alternate way to do it. We're just going to focus on the edge. And then we'll come back with our rungs. I say we do that just so we can kind of match the cadence of this one over here, rather than just taking a shot in the dark over here and having two different horns. Alright, clean dry. And I'm just going to take some ochre and then come up the side here. This will be our shadow for this little yellow fin. I'm going to grab some white. I'm going to jump down to his neck and just kind of fill out, just kind of line this side with some white. Kind of going to bring it in a bit. And then I'm going to clean this out. And start bringing this purple over. It's kind of like the underbelly of a lizard. You got the lighter skin tone. And in my reference, it looks like it just kind of creeps into that thinner. A little more white. Yeah, definitely no longer using graphite on the underdrawings. It's just a mud fest. Alright. Gonna grab some solid black. Whoa, paintbrush, where are you going? Gonna fill these eyes in. Home stretch. After this, I'm gonna drop the background in. Add a few more details. And we have our dragon. So I'm gonna clean this brush out. And I'm gonna jump up to a larger brush for my background. So this is the cool part. I've been looking forward to this. Let's see, that should be... I'll block it in with this and then I'll go in with a finer brush. But I'm just going to grab... Oh, wrong one. Well, I'll start at the bottom. Mid-yellow. Start filling this guy in. Going to do some cool contrast. I'll save those edges for a smaller brush. This one I might be able to manage. Yikes. Alright, I'm going to clean this one out. Not sure what color that is, but it's kind of like fire. Alright, I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to grab my number 4 flat. And I'm going to grab purple, and I'm going to keep working that up here. Alright, I might add a few more details, but other than that, there's Spyro. I'm really happy with that. I wasn't sure what these purples and the purple and yellow was going to do, but that's fucking awesome. Really brought it home. Well, I really like these small canvases. I think we're going to keep going that direction. Seems like they still take quite a bit of time, but you can get a whole painting under your belt in the same amount of time if we were doing like an 18 by 24. But yeah, stay tuned. This is only going to get more awesome. We have a really great concept for you guys, and stay tuned because we're going to show you the final painting here in a second. Thanks, and have a good weekend.